The fourth book we're going to cover is titled We Were Dreamers, an Immigrant Superhero Origin Story by Simu Liu, who you may know as the lead actor in Marvel's Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So this is a memoir by Simu, and the book consists of three acts, and I love that the acting theme has carried out in how he structured the book. Um, but Act One was all about Simu's family and upbringing in China. He starts off by depicting his memories and experiences of his childhood growing up in China, raised predominantly by his grandparents. The remainder of this first act tells a tale of his parents and their upbringing in China. It covers the hardships that his parents faced as individuals and as parents when they made the very difficult decision to leave their son for a period of time in hopes of forging a better life for their family. We also learn of his parents' academic prowess and giftedness, a trait that would ultimately bring his parents together when they met at college. Overall, this act does a great job of providing a backstory of his parents and provides some context on some of the behavior and events that occur throughout the rest of the book. Simu actually says, like, I think before the act begins, that, like, hey, you can technically, like, skip this section or whatever, but he's like, this is really important to because it'll make sense, kind of like why my parents are the way they are. So I thought that was kind of funny. He's kind of like, you can skip it, but don't. So yeah, that kind of sets you up and kind of, I think, gives a foundation as to maybe why some of the events take place later on in the book. So yeah, so that's Act One, and Act Two kind of goes into Simu's life moving from China to Canada, and it covers the trials and tribulations of assimilating to a new country and adjusting to actually having his parents be his official guardians. Because, as I mentioned in Act One, his parents had actually left to forge a better life, and so they made the tough decision to kind of leave him with his grandparents. And I think up until the age, I think he migrated at the age of like 4. So up until the age of 4, he was raised pretty much predominantly by his grandparents, and so um, it was his parents almost felt foreign to him. He kind of depicts um, how he like when they kind of came back and were like, hey, we're going to be taking you to to Canada, like he was kind of like he didn't like almost didn't even feel comfortable around his dad. So that was kind of very interesting. And it shows and how he really loved his life in China and didn't really want to leave. This act is really sort of Simu's coming of age section and depicts the events in his life from like being a kid throughout his college years, and a majority of the act actually covers the tumultuous relationship he had with his parents, where he endured both emotional and physical abuse, and it captures his efforts to fit in and assimilate, the academic pressures from his parents, and then the initial career path that he took in accounting. And then Act Three is the third and final act, and it's about Simu's life after being laid off as an accountant. It's kind of like the section right before Simu as we know him today. Um, this act also covers Simu's journey into the world of acting and entertainment. It details his struggles as an actor and his eventual breakthrough roles in television and film, culminating in his casting as the lead in Marvel's Shang-Chi. This section is not only about his success, but also reflects his coming to terms with his past and making amends with his parents. And so, yeah, the cultural themes I'll kind of touch on. I think I'll touch on two here. Is the first one is that the immigrant dream and the pursuit of success. So the book embodies the immigrant dream of seeking a better life and the relentless pursuit of success in a new country. Simu's shift from a stable job in accounting to an uncertain Simu's shift from a stable job in accounting to an uncertain acting career symbolizes the pursuit of personal fulfillment over traditional measures of success. A narrative that's very common among second generation Americans, and is something that Brianna and I have talked about. How we both were in the arts. Brianna actually pursued it as a career. I did not. I decided I wanted it to be a hobby. But yeah, kind of that like, okay, do you choose your passion or what kind of is the thing that your immigrant parent will be proud of, right? We talk about the doctor, a lawyer, engineer, those kind of things. So, Simu chose accounting as kind of his, I guess, stable path. And then he was like miserable in it. And so, yeah, that's kind of a theme that was covered. And so the next theme that I'll kind of discuss here is meeting parental expectations. The memoir delves deeply into the high expectations set by immigrant parents who often sacrifice a great deal to provide their children with opportunities in a new country. So Sima's relationship with his parents is a central aspect of his story and conveys the innate indebtedness that many children of immigrants grapple with. I know I grapple with this a lot. I'm sure Brianna does too. especially when you have parents who come from a developing country. um, you are, you know, you hear those like cliches where it's like, I had to walk a mile both ways, with a camel on my back. Whatever. I don't know. Not I don't know. I had to walk, both ways of like carrying 10 books or whatever. And so our parents, or like walk through the snow. Or our parents from Jamaica, so no snow there. But like we did hear stories of them having to walk and do all these things, and it's like, as a child growing up in a first world country, like how do you compete with that, right? So you kind of feel this like, okay, mom and dad, or sacrifice so much for us, how do we live up to it? And so you naturally, as I said, this innate indebtedness to kind of um, live up to what they want for you, because you don't want what they did for you to be in vain. But you also uh, struggle with like, okay, but what about what I want? And finding that kind of balance. So yeah, it's cultural common theme that we've discussed here, and then Simu touched on it as well. So I think my favorite moment was the culmination of just the whole story. I first heard about Simu after watching Shang-Chi, and seeing Simu portray Marvel's first Asian superhero. It was really inspiring, and I love that we're finally getting more Asian representation in these types of films. Simu's story was just so interesting to read about, and I resonated a lot with some of the depictions from his childhood. So, like, although we had like vastly different experiences, I too struggled to live up to my parents' expectations of me, and trying to fit in as I navigated the world between my Jamaican and American heritage. Um, I was also excited to read this book because I purchased a Kindle edition, and then the audio version of the book, because I wanted to hear the story through Simu's voice. Like, hearing the emotion and the inflections in his voice made the story come alive and made the reading experience that much more enjoyable. Especially, there's a lot of like Mandarin in the book, and or like especially how he talks about how he pronouncing his grandparents' last name and all that, and just little there's a lot of like I said, Mandarin just kind of sprinkled throughout, and you can really hear like when he refers to his grandma and grandpa. I'm not gonna say it because I'm gonna butcher it. But like, the love in his voice. And even I don't know, maybe I think I picked this up at like when the few times kind of in the second act, when his dad would kind of refer to him like lovingly. He would, I think, refer to him as a certain kind of like pet name. And so yeah, it's just, those are things that you just, I guess, can't really get conveyed as much when you're just reading it. And so it was really neat to hear it through Simu's voice. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I intentionally bought the audiobook because I just really wanted to hear it that way. Like, seriously, it's a great read. I don't read very often. If you notice, Brianna's definitely the bookworm, and I don't read a ton. But like, I really, really love this book. And Simu, if you're watching this, we would love to have you on the podcast. Like, pretty please, like that would be amazing, and I would be so honored. At the very least, just want to say I loved the story. It was super amazing and just really great to read. I related to a lot of it, and I think a lot of people with immigrant parents would relate to as well, because even though he's depicting very like hard things that are happening, like literally physical abuse, guys, and some savage emotional abuse, I will say. I mean, he says it though like in a funny way. Like, I think he literally even said like, my mom was savage, like, and so I don't know, maybe he didn't, but like but like it was just depicted, like how he did it was kind of funny, even though it was very painful for him. And so I commend him for kind of being honest about that. So um I actually have two favorite quotes from the book. So the first one is, my parents worked hard to ensure that I was given every possible opportunity available to me. Never questioned that. But they had failed emphatically at creating a home environment that was safe for me, a place filled with warmth, physical affection, and unconditional support. So, I think, he's referring here to his emotional and physical abuse that he got at home. Even though they made a better opportunity for him. And although I didn't have, I would say I had some emotional abuse growing up, but like, I hate to say that, but like, yeah, I mean, you can kind of like that's kind of how I relate to it, I guess why that quote kind of stood out, because it's like, you know, you do agree that your parents created this great opportunity for you, and they really tried to do everything so that you could have a better life than they did. But sometimes in trying to pursue that, the emotional or the nurturing that you need is not really there. So you have like maybe your physical needs and your stuff to just live, but like, the emotional part is kind of neglected. So Anyway, that was my first quote that I really liked. And the second quote is that says, "Your parents did not defy destiny and settle halfway around the world so you could live a miserable and empty life. They want you to be happy doing what you love. They just might not know it yet." And I thought that's just kind of a witty thing, kind of alluding to, again, trying to live up to your parents' expectations, whether they say it explicitly, or it's just something that you kind of feel like you have to do. So I feel like those two kind of just conveyed two quotes that I really liked. Yeah, I really enjoyed the book. It's a great read, and I highly recommend it.